Hey everyone, it's MCGI Joe here. I wanted to take a few minutes to go over the forum posts regarding PvP and Game Update 33 Combat Preview, as well as delve into some speculation on what the future holds for Combat and ESO with the Untitled Chapter for 2022. Hold on to your Chaos Balls because it's a crazy, wild ride. She's still the one for you, and the Amorous Incense of Mara for daily use helps you be ready anytime the moment is right. Amorous Incense of Mara is the only daily ointment approved to treat symptoms of BPH like needing to go frequently. Tell the Mages Guild, your local priest of Arcade, or your healer about all your medical conditions and medicines, and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Amorous Incense of Mara if you take skooma for chest pain, as it may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle aches. Giggity. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. Or if you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision, or an allergic reaction like rash, hives, swelling of the lips, tongue, or throat, or difficulty breathing or swallowing. Stop taking Amorous Incense of Mara and get medical help right away. Ask your Mages Guild, Priest of Arcade, or healer about Amorous Incense of Mara for daily use today. Matt Fiore made a post about the state of PvP on the forums, and it said, "It's long past time to give everyone an update on where we are with PvP improvements. As many of you know, we did a series of tests over the last year to give us more data. These tests were successful and gave us the information we needed. We now have a plan going forward, but heads up, it's going to take some time. In short, just like we did for a client a year or so, we introduced multi-threaded rendering to increase client frame rates. We're going to re-architecture our server. The version of ESO in 2022 is many magnitudes larger and more complex than the ESO that launched in 2014. So in order to give everyone a good play experience in high-intensity situations like PvP and trials, we need to essentially rewrite some of the foundational server code to account for it. This should dramatically increase server performance, but obviously we will need to test and evaluate it as we go along." So I mean, yeah, it's been a game that's been around for years, and so the constant changes and everything like that, it's gonna take some time to get to the root cause of it. It's taken forever. So he goes on, we've been planning this for the last quarter and we're starting work on it right now, but as you can imagine, changing the fundamentals of a huge live game such as ESO is a delicate and multi-stepped process. So expect this to take up much of 2022. Much of the early work is going to happen behind the scenes, and we are definitely not going to rush it. A re-architecture of this magnitude will require the entire game to be retested and evaluated, as this particular code is a foundation on which the game is built. It will take tons of QA and testing time as well, and I'm sure that when the time comes, we'll do as large a test as we can on the PTS. In the meantime, we'll consider additional ways to keep Cyrodiil and Battlegrounds interesting and exciting. For example, potentially specialist rule sets or weekend events, and we'll continue to work on bug fixes affecting combat, but we won't be adding any new features to PvP until the work mentioned above is complete. Doing so would not only prolong the fixes we want to implement, but also exasperate the issue of poor performance. As long as they give us stamina writing lessons for the weekend events, that should be great, right? Just like they did with the price deduction on the Crown Store. He goes on and finishes it. "We completely understand the frustration many of you are feeling, especially with the lack of information about our PvP plans. This was a huge decision to make, and we needed to make sure we had exhausted all other possibilities before announcing this. Thanks for bearing with us, and we will give you periodic updates about the re-architecture process over the course of the year. So it's true. I mean, you know, something this big is going to take forever. So, yeah, let's see what they got. So in addition to the PvP updates, they also put out a Game Update 33 combat changes. Greetings everyone. Today the combat team would like to offer to officially welcome you to 2022 by giving you some insight on what's coming to the combat in the first update of the year. We've been keeping a close eye on all the adjustments we've made over 2021, and we're relatively happy with how the game has been evolving combat-wise with character expression and freedom of build choices, and we are dedicated to continuing to work through where it matters most. So this is with the update. This is Gilliam on the forums. He's talking about the first quarter update that's going to be live on PTS on Monday. So he goes on to say, in update 33, the changes are focused on making almost every player ability in the game scale dynamically with your highest offensive stats when applicable. Similar to what we've worked on with passives and item stats, we want to ensure that you feel empowered to pick an ability or weapon based upon the gameplay mechanics and expression they offer you first and foremost, with fewer restrictions. This means that any ability that used to scale exclusively with spell damage and max magicka will now dynamically scale with weapon damage and max stamina, and vice versa. With this, we want to retain the identity of many playstyles by reinforcing ability cost as a limiting factor in how frequently you can engage with abilities, but with less concern as to how powerful that ability is based upon what stat path you've chosen. So the bomb blades would now actually get some benefit out of the dual swords. Right now it's not that much. So in addition to the continuation of hybridization, we've also gone through many abilities and cleaned up some of the functionalities, making sure the ones that aren't used as often receive some sprucing up to make sure they feel more up to par with their abilities of their like. This is in addition to the usual bug fixes and back-end improvements and targeting of outlier abilities or sets for balance adjustment. Some of these are larger in adjustment, such as Power Bash's new functionality of being treated as a bash attack, or Piercing Javelin's new functionality of living up to its name and piercing through block. Most of the adjustments are not as flashy or different, but instead gain an added quality of life improvements, like increased durations for easier management or scaling adjustments. For example, the Morphs of Lotus Flower gives you the choice of gaining more healing overall, or significantly longer uptime for less micromanagement. That wraps up this update's combat adjustments. While the number of changes is by no means small, with the hybrid work we've been doing in the past, we hope this pass is far less turbulent than things that have been recently. The goal here is to open the door to more build freedom and diversity for some players. We know such changes will instill a sense of needing to spend time and effort changing the loadouts, but we believe that the long-term benefits will be worth it. Thanks for reading, and we hope to see you all in Tamriel. So, notes that were on the forum, and with what we've seen in the reveal for the High Isle chapter, it's going to be an interesting direction that Zos is deciding to take us. The PvP really needed some work, and it's not just for PvP, but also in the trials, the endgame communities. They've often said that it is laggy, and anybody that's ever been in open world Cyrodiil knows how laggy it is. I think the problem with Cyrodiil is that it's so spacious, and like I said in my last video, you know, people going for Emperor, all they do, or their AP farm is all they do is just attack empty keeps and take them over and move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. And they don't actually really get into any big battles. If they are, sometimes it's when Volendrung's out, and that's the only time that's there, because then they can just go wreak havoc everywhere. It'll be interesting to see what goes on in this new one. I did say in the last video that I thought that they were going to try and do away with the Three Banners War, and I believe that they could probably bring, you know, some sort of timeline into right before Tiber Septim and the Emperor Zero, with the Septim Dynasty, which happens right after this time within the Elder Scrolls lore. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with PvP. They talked about, like I said, re-architecturing it. So are they going to take away keep battles? Are they going to make it more faction based? Are we going to have the 3 banners anymore? Are they going to be, opening up different factions, and then you get to choose what faction you want to be in, and then we'd start all that with the political intrigue? Are they going to close off Cyrodiil and leave Imperial City open? It'd be interesting to see what goes on with that. But then how does it play for playability when you talk about everything that, they've said you can jump right in wherever you want and you don't have to start from scratch. But if you started the 3 Banners War, would you be able to do the soul skill line or the soul timeline? I'm not really sure. But then it's also interesting to see what they would do with the new High Isle. They did show that there are some jousting that's going on. Are they going to open up a joust type activity, much like I believe it's Dynasty Warriors, or from the I want to say the Romance of the Three Kingdoms style Dynasty Warriors of the Chinese Han Dynasty era, that game? Are they going to try and do something like that, where you basically battle somebody on a horse? Are they going to open up arenas like that where you do combat like you would in such of like a Renaissance fair type combat? It'd be interesting to see what kind of things that they throw into the High Isles chapter, and especially if they're going to try and rework Cyrodiil to where it's not the way it is right now. I don't know if it's because it's so vast and expansive, as that's why it's got so many problems. And even the trials, trials can be very expansive with how they run around and that sheer size and scope of it. So, I don't know if what they're trying to do is to eliminate that completely. But I think that there's an opportunity here for, especially if they are bringing peace to the 3 Banners War, to allow for us to enter into some sort of different faction-based environment where we'd all get to, okay, you're part of this alliance or this alliance or this alliance, but then you join a specific house within the Breton society or within the political society, since the Bretons are the ones that come and take over as emperors of the Septim dynasties. So, the Bretons are going to lead pretty soon in the historical sense of things. Or do we all enter into one of those little islands, where they've got no law and anything like that? And is that a free-for-all, come as they all are? I wanted to talk about I don't think PvP is being replaced by the Tales of Tribune card system, because if you think about it, what they said was that the card system is a resource building game. So while yes, you are competing against another individual, I don't think this is what's going to be replacing PvP. I think it's going to be more of a Settlers of Catan type system where you're out there resource building. I don't think it's going to be in a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Magic the Gathering type system. I think it's actually going to be more like a Settlers of Catan. Because everything that they've said, as far as it is, and some of the concept art, as you can see on the screen right now, its ranking, all that stuff is not necessarily player versus player combat and submission and everything else that goes with the PvP. And you can't really teabag anybody with a card deck anyways, so I guess that takes that out of the way. Sawman UK, you're not going to be able to get banned for that. But I think that when they talk about it, it's a resource building.
And now that I have some wood, I'm going to begin the erection of my settlement.
Type thing. So I think the Settlers of Catan is more like it. So I don't think any of the PvPers really need to worry about this too much, because of the fact that it's not going to replace what we have. But then, you know, they talk about the Sistrus Isles as having 4 different islands. And so maybe one of those islands is going to replace the Cyrodiil, where one is just going to be open. Everybody there is against everybody. There are no factions. Maybe it's just it's a Royal Rumble. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they go with that. But I seriously think there's an opportunity here for them to clean up Cyrodiil if they wanted to, especially with the Bretons now coming to the forefront, the political intrigue. Whether or not the Ascendant Lord and the Ascendant Magus has something to do with the precursor to Emperor Zero, which is Colcane, who was right before Tiber Septim, who became Talos, and started the Septim dynasties, which eventually led to Martin Septim when you start dealing with the I want to say Oblivion. Yeah, I believe it's Oblivion that he's a part of. You know, all these different things that they could do. I know they've been talking about fixing Cyrodiil, but how far are they willing to go with that? Are they going to close it all the way down? Are we going to get rid of Siege? What does that entail? I don't think the card game's replacing it, because it is just Settlers of Catan. So it'd be interesting to see how they're going to go about. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what they're going to do, and I'll definitely be on the PTS looking for it. So it's definitely an interesting time for combat in the Elder Scrolls Online, especially with the changes coming in Update 33, with the dual sourcing of buffs on abilities and weapon skills. Are they going to include the dual sourcing within potions? Because that'll change a bunch of different stuff. Or is the potions the way you get the increase for whatever stat base you go? It'll be interesting with the hybridization. You're going to be seeing a lot more of the mag classes use stamina-based stuff with like a mag blade. When they do a bomb, they'd get a better damage hit if they use the dual swords. And then they could also put an execute on there too. So they jump out with the soul tether, and instead of, you know, they could do power sap, and then start hitting it with the whirling blades, the execute there. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We'll see how it correlates. There's going to be a lot of numbers crunching with everybody on the PTS, PvE and PvP. So we'll definitely have to do a lot of numbers, and there's going to be a lot of builds that are going to be coming out just to check and try and see what happens. Do you get, because now you can run Camo Hunter versus Inner Light, because it's going to be dual sourced of the buff. We're going to have to see how all of the set scale and the weapons and the skills correlate with that. So it'll be a lot of work. It's a huge change. So we definitely need to all go into this with an open mind. Hybridization is something that allows anybody to play the way they want. That's what this game was built on. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a nice adjustment to kind of keep it back in line with what the Elder Scrolls Online was trying to market itself as. So we'll see, but we'll be on the PTS and we'll start doing that. Try and also work on getting my website out, so that way I can do updates and guides and written notices up there. So stay tuned for that. Well, that concludes today's video. Hopefully you all took something from that to help you make the best of your experiences in the Elder Scrolls Online. Don't forget to heavy attack that subscribe button on YouTube and bash that notification bell. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. You can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. Be safe, have fun, and remember, wherever you go, adventure awaits.